I want to give you an update on the flood. We had a huge flood here at the wood yard. I did a live stream of it after it occurred, and I will put that in the link in case you missed it. What a mess. And it happened near the end of April, and we had just a huge rain event here in Northeast Ohio. It was monsoon rain all day long, and then we had between midnight and 4 a.m., it was about 4 inches of rain came down. And it was a flash flood. It came roaring through here, and it pushed my wood, my pallets, my logs, everything up against this wall. And then everything drained down the other side. The yard here has a gentle slope going this way. And what a mess. And it made me start thinking about the thought process I had when I got into firewood to begin with. And that was when I was heating with firewood. And I was thinking, can you sell this firewood? You know, what if I'm not burning the firewood to heat my house? What if I sell it and then buy propane? Would I come out ahead on it? So I started putting the math together, which is my strong suit. And I looked at what people are selling firewood in this area and probably what I could sell my firewood for. And the answer was no. It was worth more to me as firewood. And that came back to mind with how I'm going to be cleaning this mess up, because I am left with a lot of firewood that I cannot sell. I've lost about 1/3 of my inventory, and that's a big hit because my firewood is worth a lot of money. We put a lot of effort and time into our firewood because we have learned the more you process firewood, the more it's handled, the more we stack it. It makes your price go up. If you leave your firewood in a pile, good for you. But I've just found out that it's too much work. It takes too much time, too much wear and tear on the engines. I am a sole proprietor, so I try to do everything I can to maximize the dollars in every single stick of firewood. So that's why we do things the way we do. Bottom line is I've lost probably, if I had 40 cords of wood that was in here drying, I've lost 1/3 of that. And if you're averaging what I do per cord, we've lost a lot of money. And then that leaves me, well, what am I going to do with this? The one thing that I have committed is that I do not sell cheap firewood. There's no economic incentive for me to do that because we've already discussed this. The wood is worth more to me as firewood than it is as cash. So all of this wood that I can't now sell is going back to my house, and it's going in it's not going in my woodshed, it's going around it. Check this stuff out. Was the water line, and when we get into these lower stacks down here, it's more pronounced. But that water, came in here and it just deposited all this mud and silt on the wood. When you are a value-added provider, this is unacceptable. There's no way I could take this to a restaurant and they're going to cook their, here we got mold growing on it already, cook their food over top of it, because customers can see their firewood in a lot of these restaurants. So there's no way. But should I sell it? And the answer is no. It's worth more to me as firewood. So as we sell, we don't throw this wood into the order. This wood stays behind, and then we bring my trailer back in here, fill it up, and we take it over to my woodshed. The wood now that we are making, we're just getting it stacked. This is silver maple. It should dry out pretty quick. This yard, if it were to ever quit raining and heat up, I mean, we're still running space heaters in the house right now at the end of May. It's so cold. This wood dries out quick, and I should be able to get caught up. But the bottom line is I've lost 1/3 of my inventory. And if you have been following this channel for a while, you know how I make firewood. You know how we make a living. And it was interesting to see a lot of the people that found, my live stream. They have that different opinion about firewood. And it hits a raw nerve with me because this is Exhibit A, that you are allowed to touch and process firewood and you actually make more money. I am proof that a lot of the assumptions that people hold about the firewood industry are just wrong. It's just incorrect. The more you handle, the more fuss that you make with your firewood, the more valuable it becomes. So what we do to get there is, first, our firewood looks awesome. It's consistent in length and split. the smaller your split, the more money it's worth. And we separate by species. For instance, this row is all cherry. The white woods, this is like a maple. I put all my maple, beech, ash in here. We separate our oak, we separate our hickory. And that is one of the things that we do to increase our price per cord. The other thing is we have this set up in a first in, first out, so we always have seasoned firewood. We can manage our inventory. That's where, you know, we don't leave wood in a pile, kind of like this stuff down here, which is from the expo, so cut me some slack on that one there. But I mean, that shows, you know, how much can you sell that wood for versus seasoned wood. And you know darn well that it's seasoned because you can pull it right off the rack and take it. And here your oldest wood is at the bottom of the pile, and that makes no sense to me. So we stack wood. It's just easier, it's less work, and it makes your firewood and your ability to manage your inventory go up. Okay, so people that were watching my live stream, they were getting a little upset. They were saying, why are you making a big deal out of this, Joe? It's just firewood. And I disagree. It may just be firewood to you, but to me, this is my livelihood. This is how I make a living. This is how we keep food on the table, and we keep the house and keep gas in the gas tank. So it is a big deal to me when you come in here and you see all of your firewood that is set up with logic from the driest, you know, down to the greenest. So when the dry stuff goes out, the green's chasing it, and we have a continual system of first in, first out, seasoned dry firewood. So people were upset with that because they were like, stack it, get out of your way and move on. But no, that's not the case. So all of my wood now is mixed up with the dry and the green, the cherry with the maple, the beech with the oak. The hickory is not even here anymore. It's 3 miles that way, unfortunately. And it really set us back. When you take pride in your inventory, when you take pride in being able to deliver a world-class product to people that can appreciate this kind of stuff, restaurants, for example, you don't take them wood, you know, it's laying on the ground that are all different shapes and sizes and big chunks and this and that. We take extra effort and it pays us back. But everything's messed up. This cherry from here down is wasted right here. You know, you can't sell this. You cannot sell that to a restaurant. The stuff up above it, you can. This was stuff that we just stacked. So just everything's screwed up right now. So my plan, guys, to remediate this problem is we're selling this, and all the stuff at the bottom goes back to my woodshed at the house. And someone would say, well, why don't you sell it? Well, I would go back to why I got into firewood and was able to make a living out of it in the first place, is that you don't sell cheap firewood. I buy cheap firewood. And this stuff is worth more to me as firewood than it is money. That's why. So that's how we remediate this. Now, how do we mitigate the flood? Because a lot of people have accurately stated, if it's flooded once, it can flood again. And I totally agree with you. Speaking with the landlord and my cousin, who've both lived in this area for 30 plus years, this creek has risen over the years, but it's never done what it did that night. This is like a 1 in 100 year event. The rain we had here was crazy, but it can happen again, no question. So what can I do to mitigate it? I'm not going to move out. There's a lot of people that have experienced floods and you don't move out. I still think that, and I'm willing to give this yard the benefit of the doubt, that I could maybe go another 4, 5, 10 years and this won't happen again, but I could be wrong. It could happen tomorrow as well. But I can still take steps to manage my risk. And what I think I'm going to do, well, first, me and the property owner were talking about the wall because we felt that the wall probably trapped in a lot of this water. And up on this side, we have a hole in here because there is natural runoff from rain and it goes through there and over into the ditch, which goes down to the creek. We're talking of reworking this wall and making the holes bigger and more of them. So if water does get in here, it could get out before it pushes all the way up the hill. The other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to double these pallets, because I think even if I got another 6 inches of height, you know, it doesn't mean that the next water that comes in will be that high. It could save me a couple thousands in product, because I cannot stand looking at this. This is depressing to me. And then the other thing that I'm going to do, and what I was trying to get away from, was I keep wood at my house, but I'm going to get back to doing that. I have a gentleman that makes wood for me up north, and I have been bringing that wood down here, but I will be taking that wood back to my house and keeping it there. I just think having things in multiple locations makes a lot of sense. It was a convenience for me with delivery, because then I could just load my truck at home and go. But now I see the risk management principle involved with this, that I can save myself. Because what if, you know, a flood's bad? Let's just throw that out there. But it could have been worse. We could have had a tornado, we could have a fire, and I think it just makes sense to spread my inventory risk over multiple locations. So that is the other thing I'm going to be doing to mitigate my exposure to risk with natural disasters. Now, there is one thing that has really gotten under my skin, and it has made me start questioning, what the heck am I even doing here? So before all this happened, I had inquired, I looked into it, and I could not get my inventory insured. My machines are, my tractor, my container, my roof, all of that is insured, but not my inventory. Why not? You know, and they would always say, well, it's just firewood. And that's one of these things that I just find real annoying about the way that, you know, people regard firewood. And it just makes no sense to me. This is my livelihood. This stuff has value to it. It is not unlike ham sandwiches or socks or stuffed animals. Why can we insure a ham sandwich, but we can't insure firewood? So I was asking around, and I did meet a firewood company at the expo who their inventory is insured through like a general liability with their machines and stuff. You know, that their inventory was covered through that also. But they're also a sawmill, and it's gotten me talking to my insurance guy, and we're just trying to figure something out here, because are you telling me that I am putting all of my livelihood into this space, and I have all of this money wrapped up in my firewood, and I cannot insure it against the loss? Now, my insurance guy said, well, you'd have been screwed anyways because it was a flood, you know, so we got to be realistic about that. But there are other ways that you can lose your inventory other than a flood. You know, you got fire, storms, infestation, theft, all of these things are possible. And that was just, it makes me wonder what in the heck I'm even doing here now, because maybe I should start selling ham sandwiches instead of firewood. We're asking a lot of a firewood business who's trying to do this as a sole proprietor. This is not I am not a hobbyist. This is my livelihood. And that has really opened my eyes that I've chosen to be in an industry that our product has got such low regard that you can't even find anyone to insure it. Our firewood is different than your traditional firewood yard, where these guys and gals that think that you have to leave it in a pile because you're going to lose money if you don't. I just find that as self-defeating. You know, the only way that you can make money then is to sell more. And that makes no sense to me, because that's just more work, more times up and down the road, and that's not for me. I am just a sole proprietor. I can't do volume, so we sell it by, this is such a mess here. We sell it by margin. The higher the things that we can do to make this firewood worth more, we're going to do it. Here's the oak, and the water did get up, but not very high, so I didn't lose a lot of oak. But like this pallet, which had wood on it, if you recall, it was pushed all the way up to the live deck. The water got into the container. I had thought containers are watertight, but maybe that's from like ocean spray and hard rains, because I did get water in the container. I had 3 of my chainsaws submerged. The Dolmar is back to running fine. The Husqvarna, I don't know, something wrong with it. It smokes a lot. And I haven't tried the DeWalt yet. But we had to tear everything out of this container, and we brought in the Clorox and just got all that mud and gunk out of here. Because keep in mind, this is Ohio, and we're a little backwards behind the rest of the world, and we don't have city sewers out this way. This is all septic tanks. So that effluent gets into the creeks, which got up in here into my yard. And then not to mention all the expensive houses out this way, which was, of course, effluent getting into the creek, getting into my wood yard, and the farmers' fields, the pesticides and stuff. So it's not healthy water. I'm not worried about the water because wood dries off, but what was in it, you know, it's really set us back, and I just need to get busy. And so going forward, you know, we're running the Japa, we're trucking wood in from up north. I just got to get caught up and make sure that we have a continual supply of seasoned firewood. And I have no hickory, so I got to this is all my hickory right here. I got to get busy processing hickory. Okay, guys, I hope that you found this enlightening. I wanted to show you what I'm up against and what our plan is going forward. And I want to thank all of you guys and gals with the positive comments, the encouragement, keeping everything into perspective for us. And I want to thank all of the people that help, because this is definitely, I call myself a sole proprietor, but you're never a sole proprietor. You always have a team. And they came through large for me here to get this mess cleaned up and help me get back to operating. All right, guys, I hope everyone has a great day.